Well, it appears that the fullback McFarlane will attempt the penalty from about 33 metres out from the goalposts. No breeze here. In fact, the slight breeze favouring the Holy Cross side. And while Billy Anderson may be a familiar face at Leichardt Oval in '87, a man that's graced this turf on many occasions, is also a man bringing sideline comments to us this season, the Commonwealth Bank Cup, Wayne Pearce. Wayne, firstly, congratulations on a great first-up performance against Parramatta, and we saw the tremendous influx of former Holy Cross players in that Balmain side last weekend.
Yes, David, the Commonwealth Bank always has been a great breeding ground for junior footballers, and not only has Holy Cross had some great first graders, but St Augustine's has also produced players of the likes of Phil Daly and Glenn Ryan, and tonight hopefully we'll produce a few more players of the standard of those guys.
Well, they've also produced a superb goal kicker in Cameron McFarlane, who's open to scoring for Holy Cross Ryde. They lead St Augustine's by 2 points to 0 here at Leichardt Oval. So, Billy, that's the start that Holy Cross would be looking for in a superbly struck penalty goal by the young fullback from Holy Cross.
Yes, it was, Dave, and under these conditions, I think the winning team tonight will be the one that can kick the ball and chase it the best. So you've got to get your kicking game in order, get your chasing game in order. Don't play for points, play for field position, and the points will come.
So 2 points to 0. So early in this first half, St Augustine's to get the game back underway. The ground, there's been a lot of rain fall in the last 3 or 4 days, but as usual, the pitch here at Leichardt Oval in superb condition. That's a player to look out for this afternoon in this game. Rodney Joyce, the young 5'8" from Holy Cross, comes into this game with big raps on him, and I'll be very keen to see his performance out here this afternoon. Well, another penalty. The second of the match goes against St Augustine's. A little bit over-anxious in defence, moving inside the 5. And it will be, in fact, the 5'8" Joyce who will look for touch on this grandstand side of Leichardt Oval. These two sides have clashed on one other occasion. It wasn't a televised match. It was back in 1983. And St Augustine's led 10-4 before going down 21-14. From all reports, that was a tremendous game. So Martin Thomas, the young hooker from Holy Cross, to restart play, feeding the second row forward Mackey, who takes it headlong into the defence of Mestroff, the captain of St Augustine's, playing in 13. Thomas goes into dummy half. This time it goes on to El Bay, and he takes play about 12 metres out from the St Augustine's line. There goes Thomas from dummy half, but again that's St Augustine's defence moving in to put him on the ground. Lock for Delahunty now into dummy half, and it goes out through the open side to Meredith, then on to Joyce. The pass back infield this time for Brennan. He's a young fella that's come down from Ballina, is in fact a Balmain scholarship already. Here we go again. There's the kick behind the defence of St Augustine's, and that's a try. No, a penalty, offside, ruled against Holy Cross Ryde. And that will relieve some pressure on the young side from Brookvale.
Yes, the winger there on the far side for Holy Cross was roving out particularly wide. The defence hadn't marked him up. He had plenty of space to work in, but unfortunately he just crept in front of the kicker and was consequently penalised.
So no try for Anthony Sheriff, the right winger for Holy Cross, and play now comes out about 20 metres from the St Augustine's line. There's Corbett. He looks a likely big lad as well, but he runs straight into the eager arms of John Clark, the prop forward from Holy Cross. Slowly to his feet. I think that tackle counted. Now it's Mestroff, the captain. He's a player that loves to take the ball up. He'll be testing this Holy Cross defence in the opening minutes of this first half. There's the kick through by the centre three-quarter Keating, and that's a great kick, taking play up inside Holy Cross territory for the first time in this match. So the scrum to pack down, only about 2 metres inside Holy Cross end of the ground. Holy Cross, Bill, have shown that willingness to throw the ball around despite the inclement conditions here at Leichardt.
Yes, they have. They've handled the ball particularly well.
Well, this time the penalty goes against Holy Cross for the incorrect feed from young Trent Meredith. And so the second penalty on the trot to St Augustine's.
Well, this is the first opportunity really that they've had to put any pressure on. They've spent most of this game in their own quarter defending stoutly, and now they've got a chance to make Holy Cross do some work.
Well, Wayne, you're very much a man at home here at Leichardt Oval. Despite the wet conditions, the ground looks in pretty fair condition. How does it hold the rain here?
Well, David, it is a rather humid night tonight, to say the least. And the ground has good drainage, but we've only played one match on the Oval so far this year. That was a trial game earlier against Western Suburbs. So it hasn't had much use, and I'm expecting it to hold up not only for this game, but also for the main game tonight without much mud developing at all.
OK, that's White of St Augustine's taking play just outside the Holy Cross 22. And as Bill mentioned, the first time for the side from Brookvale to show their true metal in attack, and it's taken up by the big prop forward, probably the largest player on the field out there this afternoon, Matthew Corbett. Now a chance to see it go out through the halfback White across the line. That's Scott Agnew taking play to the 22, and that's a good solid tackle from Rodney Joyce. The last tackle as it goes back to Keating, the kick for touch, but it's too long. In fact, goes into touch in goal, so play will come back to the 22.
At the moment, St Augustines are taking the ball up with plenty of vigour, but it's one out. We can see here the kick just failed to find touch. It was a metre the other side, it was a good kick. A metre the wrong side, it wasn't a good kick. But what St Augustines are doing is they're taking the ball up one out. I think they need some support runners to take a little bit of the pressure off those people bringing the ball up.
So Martin Thomas slips into dummy half and feeds the prop forward Clark, and he takes play upfield. Sheriff on the right wing. He was the man denied the try, and just a couple of moments ago, offside from the lovely little grubber kick through from Rodney Joyce. There's Joyce again into the action. Long spiralling punt. And that puts pressure on the fullback Elliott, but coming back is Van Haren. That appeared to be the knock-on. The referee has allowed play to go on. So Justin Van Haren to his feet. Left behind that time by Cameron Bryant. That's Johnson, still short of the 22. Now taken upfield by Mestrov. Some good defence that time by the block forward Delahunty. Marcus Worrell, he looks a likely lad, Bill, a good strong looking lock forward.
Yeah, once again, but it was a player taking the ball up without support.
There's the kick, knocked on by Sheriff. That player's in an offside position, and that's allowed St Augustine's to come back in possession of the ball just inside Holy Cross end of the ground. That's Johnson feeding the centre three-quarter Keating. He's a player that's gone looking for work on the fringe of the rucks in the opening minutes of this first half. Well, there's a very famous surname. That's young Sean Devitt, the son of the former Olympic gold medalist John Devitt. And these wet weather conditions might be suited to him, Billy.
Yeah, they sure might.
Mestrov unloaded the pass this time. But again, Clark, the prop forward, coming through with some good defence for Holy Cross. Well, as Wayne Pearce mentioned, the St Augustine side has produced quite a number of players from their school that have gone on to international honours, and I speak of Phil Daly, who was on the Kangaroo Tour in 86, 87, and first grade players of the calibre of Glenn Ryan, Michael Blake and Steve Haggerty, all old boys of the school. And I suppose it was only logical, Bill, that they would have all worn Manly colours at one stage or other, because St Augustine's is right across the road from the home of the Sea Eagles, Brookvale Oval.
Yes, that's right. Strangely enough, Dave, I spoke earlier this year to Phil Daly about another matter, and we're talking about football, and when he was at school, St Augustine's weren't in the Commonwealth Bank Cup, and it was one of the things he missed about school, he said. It's good to see them now competing.
Well, it's been a great breeding ground of international sportsmen. The Dalton brothers, who made their name in the Australian Olympic basketball side, and Greg Maher, who was on Kookaburra 3 during the America's Cup campaign off Fremantle, all old boys of this school. But they've got the job ahead of them today against a side so seasoned in Commonwealth Bank Cup football. They know what it's all about. And they're currently leading Holy Cross by 2 points to 0.
He's quite a good player, Mestrov, doesn't he? He brings the ball up hard, and it's taking 2 and 3 defenders each time to pull him down.
Well, both these prop forwards are pretty likely lads. They're both solid fellows. That's the little man in the middle of them, Johnson, who got the pass away. And already some tempers flared between the two number 13s, Frank DePaulo and Anthony Mestrov. And the scoreline here at Leichardt Oval, Holy Cross leading by 2 points to 0.
Now remember what I told you to do if you run out of water.
Yeah, and you've shown us how to light a fire without matches.
And you know how to cope if you run out of food or pet. So good luck.
Thanks.
There is just one thing. What do we do if we run out of money?
Well, you just get some help from the bank, don't you?
A bank? Out there? Which bank?
Stomp your way through the surfing sound of the 60s with this summer sizzler, surfing guitars from the Ventures. 24 all-time classic surfing greats. Your chance to relive those good old days of sun, surf, sand and chronic wipeouts. Hey, summer never sounded so good. You get them all. Walk, don't run. Pipeline, Apache, Wipeout, Rebel Rouser. It's all the classic surfing greats and many, many more. So you better wax up your big guns, get into your woody, get down and hang $12.99 on your local record store, because it's available for just a few short weeks. Surfing guitars from the Ventures. Out now from Dino Music.
Please watch after my child until I can come back for her.
Tonight, Magnum's ex-wife is in danger.
What do you think she looks like?
And the big guy follows his heart.
As long as she's with you, you're writing her death sentence. Now, you know that. Tell.
7:30 tonight.
Well, Wayne, no doubt you'll be looking with great interest at the performance of young Chris Brennan. I believe Benny Elias brought him down from Ballina, and he's already earned a scholarship for the Balmain Club.
Yes, David, there's been a few players come through Holy Cross on scholarships, and Brennan is another player that I know Keith Barnes is watching very closely, and he's in attendance here tonight, and I'm sure he'll be delighted with the way that Brennan has started this match.
So another loss of possession for Holy Cross. Mestroff trying to work the ball down this blind side. Now it's Corbett's turn, but again, there's 3 or 4 men of Holy Cross. And again, one out, Bill.
Yeah, it was pretty obvious he was bringing the ball up, wasn't it?
Johnson caught, and that really is good defence by Mackie. And the St Augustine side look flustered in attack at the moment. That's Keating. He really has gone looking for work today, but has been pretty non-productive so far. That's a sign of a team under pressure at the moment. There's the kick, taken this time on the wing by Hallash, taking play up towards the 22, but that's good, solid defence by Warren.
Tackle.
Devitt was in there as well. Delahunty. Out to Joyce. There's the kick over the top, the ball rolling end on end. That looks as though it may find touch, but on the other side of that corner flag. So once again, play will come back to the 22. Well, I know one player in the Balmain camp who had a great hand in their great win over Parramatta at the weekend, is a man that's experienced what Commonwealth Bank Cup football is all about, and I speak, of course, the man of the match from Parramatta Stadium the other night, Scotty Gale, and he's down there with his current Balmain captain, Wayne Pearce.
Well, Scott, has Holy Cross had much of a preparation for this game?
We've had one trial, Wayne. Yeah, we haven't had all that much time. Of course, the last week has been pretty wet, so we haven't had all that many training sessions up to this game, but we've had one trial in preparation for this game.
And you feel there's any potential first graders out there? Being a teacher at the school, I suppose you've had a good look at them.
Mate, for sure. I think Rodney Joyce, the 5'8", and Chris Brennan, the centre, are two that for sure will end up playing great at Balmain.
And you had a good backing in the Commonwealth Bank Cup when you went to Holy Cross. What were the main benefits of the competition?
Well, it's a great schoolboy competition. It's a #1 schoolboy competition in Australia, if not the world. And it certainly does give you good backing for the game. Just for Balmain, for instance, Benny Elias, Paul Sirinen, Brett, myself and Paul Bevan all came through Holy Cross in the Commonwealth Bank competition. So, yeah, it is a good backing.
Thanks, Scott. May I wish you the very best of luck for the weekend and hope you win.
Thanks very much, Wayne.
I think Billy Anderson might endorse those comments. Well, talking about the Commonwealth Bank Cup, the winning school in this year's Cup competition will receive $5,000 worth of great audio products from Pi, and for the runner-up, $3,000 worth of Pi equipment as well. And Bill, I think it'd be fair to say that our thanks to Pi and to Paul Cross for their support of Schoolboy Rugby League. And I think when we saw the number of Commonwealth Bank Cup representatives on the recent Kangaroo Tour of England and France, we know what they've done for rugby league here in Australia.
Yes, I thoroughly endorse that, David, and I thank Paul Cross and Pi very much for their support. They're great supporters of Schoolboy Rugby League.
So 2-0 in favour of Holy Cross here at Leichardt Oval. And taking the ball up, this is Daniel Romain. He's right on the halfway line. Good defence again by Devitt. Now it's taken up by DeParlo. He looks a likely big prop forward too from this Holy Cross side. And he's taken play up just short of the 10-metre line, St Augustine's end of the ground. There's Thomas. Out to Joyce. That's a good step by the 5'8". Tried to look for the support, but the defence was there. And he goes to ground 10 metres. Inside St Augustine's end of the ground. There's a drop of possession from Brennan. It's picked up by Justin Van Heeren on the right wing for St. Augustine's. That's Brad Johnson running from dummy half. Oh, and that's a solid tackle again from Dean Mackey. That's White. On to Corbett. Doesn't appear to have any great pattern in attack for the St. Augustine side. Mestroff working the blind side. Matthew White. That's Agnew out to Downman.
There are some holes in the Holy Cross defence out wide. A lot of their players are dropping back for the kick, and they've got a very short defensive line. I think if the St. Augustine's team can control the ball and spread it a couple of passes, they'll put some gaps in them.
There's Sheriff. He tried to look for the support of the fullback, McFarlane. McFarlane's in the line and takes play over the halfway line. So Sheriff, who started that promising move, is the man that runs it from dummy half. But he immediately runs into the wall of green and gold defenders in the form of the centre three-quarter Agnew and the second row forward Devitt. So once again, a three-man tackle on Delahunty.
Look this way.
Up by DeParlo. So play midway between the half and the 22. Out through Thomas, then to the halfback Meredith. That's a lovely pass to the fullback McFarlane, but the pass has been ruled forward by referee Ian Parnaby, and play will come back for the scrum.
Well, the Brookvale side have just got to reverse this trend of play. All of the play at this stage, and the forward pass there is an example of it, with Holy Cross putting pressure on again. All of the play's been down in this half of the field. I think that St. Augustine's have got to get the ball down in the Holy Cross half. They've got to tackle well, hold them there, put some pressure on, and then see if they can register points.
So Holy Cross leading by 2 points to 0. It appears that the scrum was going to go against the feed, and in fact it has, as Trent Meredith dives on it for Holy Cross. So a chance now for, we could say, the local side here out of this encounter to move inside attacking position, but a penalty in fact has gone against St. Augustine's again, and again we see a kicking opportunity for the fullback Cameron McFarlane. Well, he looked pretty promising, Billy, in his first attempt. He struck the ball beautifully from...
well, this is an easier shot, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Still, the ball might be a little heavier, a bit wetter. As the game wears on and the ball does get heavier, it makes it increasingly more difficult for the kickers.
Well, a bit interesting to see who we come up with the man of the match in tonight's clash here, the opening round of the 87 Championship, because this year's man of the series will receive a full sportsman's playing and training gear from Adidas. Everything that the young rugby league star of the future could want in leisure wear as well. And I'd like to thank Ian Davis from Adidas, the former Test cricketer, and Tony Steele for their fabulous contribution to this competition. Now McFarlane with a chance to add extra points for Holy Cross. A chance to put them in the lead by 4 points to 0. There's the kick. He struck it well again, but this time it's waved away. So Holy Cross maintain that lead of 2 points to 0. Well, despite being wide of the mark, Billy, he certainly does strike the ball beautifully.
Yes, I think the test of a goal kicker isn't, under these conditions, isn't just how many he kicks, it's how well he hits the ball and how many he gets around the posts. And, you know, this fellow, there's no doubt he hits the ball well and he's a good kicker. And on his day, I'm sure that he'd kick them from everywhere.
That's El Bayi to his feet. Delahunty, the lock forward, taking place centre field midway between the half and the 22. Thomas tries to skirt the far side of Leichardt Oval.
I don't know how long the Brookvale team can withstand this pressure. They haven't had much of the ball. Holy Cross have had it all, and it's just a matter now of continuing to hold it, and they must come up with the try.
Well, here's Joyce, support on the outside, and that's a fabulous try to Holy Cross, scored by Daniel Romain. And as called by Billy Anderson, the defence of St. Augustine's had to crack. And it was that man we were talking about, Rodney Joyce, who really made great inroads into the St. Augustine's defence.
Yes, this is a good individual effort by Joyce. You can see that Stanton got the ball. Joyce was steaming onto it. He was backing up in support on the left-hand side. I thought he could have gone on his own, but unselfishly threw the ball over the top to Romain, and all he had to do was fall over for the 4 points.
Well, you can see the gaps opening up here in the St. Augustine's defence. And there's Joyce. This is a very well pulled down too by Romain. He had the pressure of the defence there, pulled it down beautifully in wet weather conditions and over for the try. So it's 6 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. And young Daniel Romain, a Balmain Jersey flag member, obviously a star of the future. McFarlane, 1 goal from 2 attempts so far, possibly his hardest kick so far this afternoon here at Leichardt. 10 metres in from touch, grandstand side. But it is the side of the ground that will favour the around the corner style kicker. That is Cameron McFarlane. Certainly takes plenty of time over his kicks. He's kicked it well. It's come back beautifully. That's a superb kick from inside touch. And so it's 8 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross over St Augustine's of Brookvale.
Frank! Didn't I just see you round the corner? But how can you be in 2 places at once? All right. Well, how can you be in hundreds of places at once? Well, it might be easy for you, but then you always work, clever Frank, especially with money. And you work such long hours, too. So who's lucky enough to have you working for them, Frank? A bank? Which bank?
Hi, Andrew Eddinghausen. I've joined the 10 Sports team for 1987, and I've got some great news for all young football fans. The Channel 10 Daily Mirror Footy Fan Club is back. There's a weekly draw of terrific prizes, lots of free giveaways, plus free admission to all Monday and Wednesday night games. And this year, you'll get a chance to take part in a training clinic to learn more about the game. Entry forms are in the Mirror, the Channel 10 Daily Mirror Footy Fan Club. It's fantastic.
Hi, I'm Don Lane. Hey, why don't you join us for all the fun, the laughs, and the surprises on my new program, You've Got to Be Joking. We could catch you.
Sponsored by Coca-Cola, Australia's caught off guard, and You've Got to Be Joking. 7:30 Wednesday night.
For Wayne Pearce, I suppose it's fair to say, a similar style kicker and nearly equally as effective as Ross Connon was at the Parramatta Stadium last weekend in similar conditions.
Yes, that was certainly a great kick there, David. But the thing I'd like to comment on is how interesting this game is developing. The St Augustine's forwards are dominating the rucks, and Holy Cross is certainly not making any progress there, but it's out wide, and unusually in these wet conditions, Holy Cross are making ground. And I think that could be due to the new style ball that they're using tonight. They're using the new wet weather rugby league ball, similar in style to the mitre balls that they use in England.
Interesting observation there, Billy, from Wayne Pearce.
Yes, it was. This ball is the ball that the New South Wales Rugby League provides to all of the schools, and it's got the pimple effect on it, and it is much easier to handle.
Okay, so 8 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. Joyce, that kick probably wasn't where he wanted to place it. Put a fair bit of pressure still on Gordon Elliott, the fullback. Still in contrasting styles to Gordon Elliott that we know at Channel 10. I don't think he'll go quite as big. He's probably just a little bit quicker. Jason Keating caught in the tackle, 10 metres out from his own 22. That's taken up this time by Downman, the 5'8" for St Augustine's. A try and 2 goals. The difference between the two sides, 8 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. Sean Devitt, the man taking the ball up for St Augustine's. In fact, it was the lock forward Worrell. Now Mestroff. Good pass by the St Augustine's captain, and a good stepping run by Scott Agnew. He's up over halfway, but he's lacking support.
Mestroff showed once again there his ability to get the ball away. It's simply a matter of having support players with him, and he'd be able to do something with it.
Well, that pass was not on, and they could pay dearly for that mistake, as the man racing away is Rodney Joyce, capitalising on the error on the halfway line by St Augustine's, and he'll go right around, right of the uprights, and that's 12 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. Well, they certainly paid dearly for that costly error, Bill. Not wet weather football at all.
No, they stretched the ball wide to the left-hand side of the field, and what could have almost been a try at the other end fell down, but they're the uncertainties of football. Joyce swooped on this loose ball, picked it up. He's a player with plenty of pace, plenty of speed. He looked inside for support, realised it wasn't necessary. There was no way that the cover defence could get to him. He went round into the in-goal area and came round to improve his position adjacent to the uprights.
Well, this is where it all broke down. Matthew White, his pass went astray. It was attempted to be picked up by Jason Keating, but it was good anticipation here by the Holy Cross 5'8". Remembering the wet weather, he really tucked that ball in beautifully. But one thing, Bill, I'd like to give credit to was Steve Downman, the man that chased him all the way, his opposite number, as Joyce tried to improve his position for the goal kicker. Downman ran him down all the way. So Joyce comes around 10 metres to the right of the upright, And that's where the fullback McFarlane will attempt his 4th attempt. So far successful with 2 from 3. And this is possibly his easiest attempt to date. There's the kick, but he's missed it. So he's kicked the tough ones, he's missed the easier ones, and the scoreline 12 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross.
Try for Ryde Holy Cross by number 6, Rodney Joyce. Ryde Holy Cross 12, St Augustine 0.
Well, that's a very handy lead at this stage of the match. As you mentioned, Bill, you thought that Holy Cross would be the favourites going into this match, particularly with the experience, not only the players that have experienced before, but the school itself, who know what this Commonwealth Bank Cup football is all about.
Well, 12-0 is a great lead in any game, but particularly under these wet conditions. I've just got the feeling, but David, that St Augustines can play a lot better than they are. I feel they might have gone into this game with some television nerves. I think they've made some mistakes, and I think they're a much better football team, and this game could be a lot closer than it is.
Well, there's a possibility now to...
Very important. If they could put points on the board here, they'd be right back in the match.
Well, a chance to drive the play inside the 22. This is why that penalty came. Incorrect play of the ball and the hands used in the play of the ball. So play to the 22 and a chance for St Augustine's to put pressure on and an attempt to register their first points in this match. Jason Keating taking play inside the 22. Now Mestroff. Good solid run by the big prop forward. Gee, he made good ground then, about 12 metres to take play, only about 4 or 5 metres short of the Holy Cross line. Now Corbett. It's important that he hangs on. They must spin the ball to the left. They've got the numbers. If they can move the ball quickly. Holy Cross very bunched in defence. Taken up this time by Agnew. They're still short on that blind side, Holy Cross, but the option taken to drive it upfield. Only a metre short in the final tackle. It's spun wide. The little kick through, but it's taken back by Sheriff, the right winger for Holy Cross.
Well, I thought they would have been better than to spread the ball to the left-hand side of the field, but we can see here the player got the kick in, the ball went in goal, a good chase by the St Augustine side, but Holy Cross were able to ground the ball, and now they'll recommence play with a line dropout.
And the line dropout to be taken by Rodney Joyce. 12 points to 0. Not a good kick. Taken by Worrell. Still inside the 22.
This is a great chance for St Augustine's if they can play out their 6 tackles.
Well, the lights finally starting to take their effect here at Leichardt Oval as Mestroff again makes good inroads into that Holy Cross defence. Now White. And the man that couldn't pick it up was Downman. And it was pounced upon by Trent Meredith. Halaz, that's his first touch of the match. Thomas, a dummy half. Brennan. Joyce, pass went astray. Dived on by Sheriff on the far side, and 6 more tackles to go for Holy Cross. So Daniel Romain, the man that scored the first try for Holy Cross, the man that played the ball. First man off the ruck was his centre partner, Chris Brennan, who in fact is leading the Holy Cross side here today. That's Mackey. He looks a very determined young second row forward, Dean Mackey. Thomas, a dummy half. It's back for Joyce. There's the kick downfield again. Spilt by Elliott, but it's been knocked back. He takes play up towards the 10-metre line. He's caught, in fact, midway between the half and the 22. That's the lock forward, Marcus Worrell. This Holy Cross defence has been pretty solid, although gaps have opened up on occasions. There's the knock-on once again, so the referee, Ian Parnaby, has no option but to pack a scrum down. Well, Wayne, you're down there. It appears that the breeze is favouring Holy Cross. They've taken full advantage of it, a 12-point lead going towards the half-time break.
It's only a very slight breeze, David, but I think the thing that St Augustine's have let themselves down in is their kicking game. They haven't used a kicking game at all. They've tried to run the ball out of their own quarter, and in fact they've made far too many errors, dropped the balls on far too many times.
So the player being spoken to down there at the moment is Trent Meredith, the young halfback for Holy Cross. He's only 17 years of age. man looking for touch on the far side is Jason Keating, an 86 SG ball representative. Also loves to play in the pack. He's a very versatile player in the St. Augustine side. And as their team manager Barry Carter told me before kickoff, he's one of the key players in the St. Augustine's outfit. There's Mestroff again, taking it up through the dummy. He reminds me a little bit of Martin Bella in the way that he stands and tries to unload. Billy?
I think he's got good ball skills. He's hitting the line hard. I'd prefer to see him coming a little bit straighter at times. He's tending just to go across field to pick up a runner, but I think he's a player with plenty of potential.
That's Downman. Taken in the tackle by Joyce. Brad Johnson. Dived on that time by Bryant, but the referee has ruled the knock-on once again. And the scrum will go down. It's midway between the half, the 22, this time at Holy Cross, end of the ground. And there's the young hooker, Martin Thomas. So the scrum feed by Trent Meredith. The scrum is steady. There's the feed. Didn't appear to go in. It's come out Holy Cross side. But he's immediately wrapped up by the prop forward, who didn't waste any time at all. Matt Corbett to get out of the scrum. Joyce with the last play of the first half. The referee Ian Parnaby blows the whistle for half-time, and as the players leave the field, a very handy lead to Holy Cross Ryde. They lead St. Augustine's Brookvale in the opening match of the Commonwealth Bank Cup for 1987 to the tune of 12 points to nil. We'll be back with more of the action of the second half right after this break.
Next week on Eyewitness News, the remarkable efforts of a group of Australians to save lives through simple operations so that the blind can see. We'll follow this Australian Rotary initiative in a special News Extra report. Also on 10, Ken Doan, the man they said wouldn't make it. We'll look at him now on the eve of another breakthrough. And Samantha Fox, London's page 3 rocker who flew down under to spend the weekend on the town. All part of Sydney's Complete News.
Stomp your way through the surfing 60s with the Summer Sizzler. Surfing guitars from the Ventures. 24 all-time classic surfing greats. Rebel Rouser, Walk, Don't Run, Pipeline, Apache, Wipeout, and many, many more. So get down and hang $12.99 on your record store, because it's around for just a few short weeks. Surfing guitars from the Ventures.
Out now from Dino Music.
And we welcome you back to Leichardt Oval in Sydney. 12-0, Holy Cross leading St. Augustine's of Brookvale at half-time, and St. Augustine's in the green and gold to restart the second half. Bill with the job ahead of them, although they've got the assistance of the slight breeze. That's a pretty handy lead by Holy Cross.
The breeze is going to help them somewhat, and I hope they can take full advantage of it, but they've got a lot of work to do. 30 minutes of football to pick up 12 points before you're on the ball is plenty of work, but they're capable of it, provided they can control the ball.
So Delahunty, the first man to receive in the second half, takes play outside his own 22, and it's Martin Thomas goes into dummy half and feeds El Bai, who takes play up midway between the half and the 22. So immediately Holy Cross into attack, taken upfield by the big prop forward DeParlo, and he's 11 metres short of halfway. Thomas again, the man that slots into dummy half, looked for Mackie and found the 5'8 Joyce, but the penalty has gone against Holy Cross. And Wayne, that happened right in front of you down there. Did you see what that was for?
Yes, David, the chasers for that kick downtown, they were all offside from the play of the ball. That happens very, very often in junior games and even in first grade, and very rarely is there a penalty given, but I certainly hope the referee is consistent.
So Ian Parnaby swooped on Holy Cross very quickly on that occasion, as it's taken upfield this time by Anthony Mestroff, the captain of the St. Augustine side. Johnson fed it back inside this time to Devitt, and he takes play to the 22. Johnson again. White. There's the kick over the top this time by Downman. And that was good covering work by Hallis, the left winger for Holy Cross. It's run out this time by the halfback Trent Meredith, 10 metres out from his own line, as Holy Cross try to work it out of the danger area through their hooker Martin Thomas. There appears to be a far more pattern in attack by the Holy Cross side, particularly under pressure, Bill.
Yes, they're just working the ball towards the centre of the field, getting field position for a kick, and then they're driving the ball downfield. Conversely, St Augustines, when they had the ball, they just didn't seem to be working anything. It was a couple to the open, one back to the blind, and they found themselves in bad sideline situations, which aren't good positions to kick from.
Well, the fullback from the Brookvale side hasn't been favoured kindly with the bounce. I'll note that's young Gordon Elliott, who started college football back in '86. Second year in the top side at St Augustines. This time they work it over the halfway line. Good defence again that time by DePala, who went over the top. Underneath was the diminutive little halfback Trent Meredith, taken up again by Mestrov. Tends to run a little crabwise, although he is powerful in attack. Switch again to the open, through White, if they can move the ball quickly. Second row forward out there is Bryant, makes the inroads into the Holy Cross defence, but good tidying up that time by Joyce, and also by the prop forward John Clark. There's the kick, too deep. It'll bounce over the dead ball line.
Once again, St Augustine showed us they have potential. They can do things with the ball. They can make breaks, but they just haven't had enough ball. They haven't held it for long enough periods to be able to capitalise on it.
So there's the tap restart by El Bay. Makes a valuable 5 or 6. Delahunty the lock. Midway between the half, the 22. He'll look for Mackie on that blind side again. He's made good ground every time he's been in possession of the ball for Holy Cross. That's Thomas. Meredith tried to step off the right foot, beat Meredith's tackle, but couldn't beat Devitt's. Look for the kick of Joyce again. Well, that's good pressure by St Augustine's. The kick off the side of the boot. Taken by Cerniez. And the penalty, Holy Cross well offside.
Yes, the player came inside the 5 metres. It was well taken. He tried to effect the tackle, but the referee had no hesitation in awarding the penalty.
And on replay, we see they made no effort at all to get outside the 5. Keating with the kick for touch. Worrell, gee, that's good defence by Holy Cross. Met him headlong in the tackle. Johnson, Mestrov. That's better play by the St Augustine's captain, but the pass has gone astray. Picked up by Brennan in turn for Joyce. A jinking run by the 5/8 from Holy Cross, and takes play into St Augustine's end of the ground. Thomas to Parlow. Sent the Holy Cross side bunched in attack. Thomas through the dummy, made 1 or 2. Midway between the half and the 22 at St Augustine's end of the ground. Meredith out for Joyce. And this time he elects to give it to Brennan. Well, the pass was on, but McFarlane couldn't bring it in. And it's picked up by Mestrov. Young Anthony Mestrov is also a very keen golfer. He's only been playing for a little over 12 months and playing off a handicap in the low teens. It's Corbett.
Hope he counts them all, unlike you.
I'm a very fair and honest golfer, William. So Cerniez back in defence for tidying up for St Augustine's. Slotting into dummy half this time is the hooker Johnson. Good darting run that time by Wally White, using the short side here of Leichardt Oval. There's the kick from the centre three-quarter Keating, and he makes a valuable 8 or 10 metres. 12 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. That was the half-time score. There's been no change to that. 2 tries in the first half, one by Romani and the other by the 5/8 Joyce. And McFarlane, the fullback, kicked 2 goals from 5 attempts. Well, the penalty, that will relieve some pressure just outside the Holy Cross 22. Joyce will come across to look for touch on this grandstand side. The crowd starting to build here for the main match here tonight is the clash between Canterbury and Manly in the National Panasonic Cup. And it must be a great thrill, Bill, for these sides to play in front of probably a lot of the heroes that will be gracing the turf in about an hour's time.
Yes, we'll get to use the same dressing room as the senior players and get very close to their heroes. And I think in the development of any young rugby league player, that can play a big role.
Well, next week on the Commonwealth Bank Cup, we'll have the clash of the two Morris Brothers sides, Morris Brothers Parramatta and Morris Brothers Cogra. And of course, Morris Brothers Parramatta, probably their most fated son, is Paul Hogan of Crocodile Dundee fame. So the ball taken out by Hallas, by the halfback Meredith, and a penalty once again goes against St Augustine's. We're inside the 5. And Brennan will be the man that looks for touch on that far side. He finds it midway between the half and the 22. Well, Wayne, the St Augustine side came out breathing fire in the opening minutes of the second half, but the candle seems to be flickering a little bit again at the moment.
They're just making far too many errors, David. And Holy Cross, although they're using the ball and kicking the ball downfield, they're not gaining much distance. But the problem with St Augustine's is they're so slow to recover. They're taking 2 and 3 and 4 tackles before they get their forwards back to bring the ball back up. So they're just losing a battle.
Well, Peter Bevan, the Holy Cross coach, told me that the side from Ryde has been in training and the squad has been assembled for some 6 weeks, and that's starting to show because the teamwork is there at this early stage of the season. Brennan with the chip over the top. Couldn't regather. It's taken by Keating. He's quickly plays the ball. It's towed through by Joyce. And it was the fullback, Elliott, that dived on it, but the referee, Ian Parnaby, detected the slight knock-on. And we'll see the scrum go down about 12 metres out from the St Augustine's goalpost. 12-0 the scoreline. Holy Cross Ryde in the lead. So Trent Meredith to work the scrum for Holy Cross. And that's one against the feed. Skirting away from the scrum base was Wally White. Keating. I mentioned that he's got that interest to play in the pack from time to time, but he certainly has taken a lot of the pressure off the forwards. He's very keen for work, the young centre 3/4 from Brookvale.
Yes, he is, and an effective dummy half runner is important under these conditions.
There's Mestrov charging upfield, unloaded the pass beautifully. Taken by Keating again, and takes play to the halfway line. Working the blind side. Loss of possession again, and that's the mistakes that Wayne Pearce was talking about. And once again, we'll see the play breakdown and only the 3rd tackle, and a touch judge coming in to report on the replacement player, which will be Paul Staunton, coming on in number 14, and it appears that the player he will replace is Frank DiPaolo. So Paul Staunton, a member of last year's squad, he's only 17 years of age. So DiPaolo off, Staunton on. That's the change in the lineup for Holy Cross, who currently lead this first round clash of the Commonwealth Bank Cup for 87 by 12 points to 0. And that's an error on the first play from the scrum win by Andrew Hallas, the left winger for Holy Cross, and yet another scrum will pack down. 12 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross.
Tonight, it's all aboard the USS Reluctant for a Bill Collins comedy classic.
You're stuck on this old bucket.
With Henry Fonda's Mr. Roberts, James Cagney,
That is the rankest piece of insubordination I ever seen.
and Jack Lemmon in his Academy Award-winning role
Who's that? This ain't no pop gun, it's a firecracker.
as Ensign Pulver, the Pulverizer.
What's that?
Tonight, a Gloombuster double with Mr. Roberts, sponsored by Bridgestone.
Jeez, that stuff's terrific!
Followed by Ghost Breakers on 10.
Ronald's found a brand new friend.
Who's that on the wall?
Hamburgers after you know what.
And he's never looked so tall.
Shadows can be so much fun.
All you need is a light or the moon or the sun.
And you can do magic for everyone.
That's the fun.
I'm Ronald
McDonald.
Yes, that's the fun.
I'm Ronald McDonald.
Stomp your way through the surfing 60s with this summer sizzler. Surfing guitars from the Ventures. 24 all-time classic surfing greats. Rebel Rouser, Walk, Don't Run, Pipeline, Apache, Wipeout, and many, many more. So get down and hang $12.99 on your record store, because it's around for just a few short weeks. Surfing Guitars from the Ventures.
Out now from Dino Music.
And the referee Parnaby not happy with the feed of Matthew White. And again not happy. Incorrect feed against the young St Augustine's halfback. Penalty 5 metres inside Holy Cross end of the ground. Brennan driving play upfield, and that's a fundamental error that really any side in any competition, Bill, can't afford.
Yeah, you can ill afford those. An opportunity to apply pressure, to get the ball down in the opposition's quarter, and you give them the ball back and you're leading 12-6. 12-0.
Well, the injured player is Gordon Elliott. Pretty solid tackle on the young St Augustine's fullback. Here it comes up here, Bill, and that he was met pretty headlong that time by Daniel Romain. And this is the one, I think, that did the damage, funnily enough, by the smallest player on the field, young Trent Meredith. And it appears he's copped one in the mouth. He looks a bit groggy on it, too. So that's sad to see in any grade of football, but we'll probably see no more of young Gordon Elliott in this televised match here from Leichardt Oval. The play getting a little bit scrappy at the moment. The referee doing his level best to try and tidy it up. The scrums have been a problem. Scrum feed again by White. Well, Wayne Pearce may have a report on young Gordon Elliott as we go touchline for Wayne Pearce. We might just wait at the moment because there's a scoring opportunity on. Hallaz comes back in field. He's taken in the tackle. But Wayne, what's the latest?
Yes, Gordon Elliott has received a knock to the jaw, and unfortunately he's got a split lip. But fortunately there's no break whatsoever, so it's just a few stitches, looks like. And Jason Murphy is going to replace Gordon Elliott.
Okay, the ball out to Romain. Pass over the top, this time for Sheriff. Well, in fact, the player who's coming on, there's been a change of numbers there. In 14, in fact, is Nigel Anderson. And that's the fullback in the line, Cameron McFarlane. Now Meredith, switching to the blind side. Got through one tackle. That was the tackle of Bryant. Final tackle for Holy Cross. Thomas, a dummy half. Joyce tried to tow it through. Picked up by Thomas, and he could have been a little bit lucky that he wasn't ruled in an offside position on that occasion. Delahunty with the kick. Charged down by White. Back in possession for Holy Cross. But that's the turnover, the first we've seen in this match.
Number 1, Gordon Elliott, has been replaced by number 14, Nigel Anderson.
Well, the St Augustine side caught napping there in the first play of the ball, Bill. I don't think they realised what was going on there, listening to the ground announcer. Now they go the blind side again, trying to work it out from that 22. Well, the pass has gone astray from the centre three-quarter, Scott Agnew. And Holy Cross come up with it through Mackie. 10 metres. In the attacking half, Holy Cross. El Bay, good defence that time by Devitt. Now Mackie went the open side, but it was Thomas that skirted the blind side from dummy half. Staunton, let's see what he can deliver as the replacement player for Frank DeParlo. Thomas again into dummy half. Out through Meredith, then to Joyce. The kick high towards Van Haren. He took it well on the right wing for St Augustines and runs it back over the 22 before he's met headlong in the tackle by Trent Meredith. Ooh, that's some solid defence from Clark, the vice-captain of the Holy Cross team. And a little bit of cramp setting in early part of the season, Bill.
Yes, but you can find the heavy feels do make it hard on the leg muscles, and players that aren't used to playing under these conditions, and it's very early in the year, they're not acclimatised to the football, can suffer that sort of an injury.
Well, the player down is Steve Downman, the 5'8" for the St Augustine side. He's a pretty versatile sportsman in himself. He's the vice-captain of the DY Surf Club. and the Manly Junior Board Paddling champion, and was a member of the Cameron Cup side in 1985. And the Cameron Cup side shield, in fact, is the Sea Eagle Shield is what this side has dominated in 81, 82, 83. That's for teams in the Open Age in the Manly Warringah district. But since those days, Barry Cardiff was telling me the team manager, they haven't had sides as strong as that. But they haven't been disgraced here tonight, Wayne Pearce. 12 points to 0. It was the score at half-time.
Yes, David, they've certainly picked up their game in the second half here. Holy Cross are still playing well, but St Augustine's have cut down their error rate and they're going forward in attack, and really they've got to be congratulated on that second half effort. There's not much of a wind blowing, so we can't really attribute that to the wind.
So we've still got Steve Dowman down injured. That's the captain of the side, trying to inspire his players, young Anthony Mestroff, who trialled with the New South Wales Catholic Colleges last year. But play about to get underway. It's still 12 points to 0 in favour of Holy Cross. Well, again, we've seen the fall back into that limited pattern of attack.
Well, they just give me the impression that they'd have been a far better, a far more formidable opponent had they played more games together. They probably needed 3 or 4 trial games under their belt, and they could have done anything.
Well, take a play 10 metres short of the halfway line. There's the kick through by Keating. Taken by Halash. Oh, and he's upended on the 10-metre line. Good solid defence that time by the 5'8" Downman. Now Meredith out to Joyce. He's repeatedly turned this Brookvale defence around on occasions with some pretty astute kicking. He's already scored a try and had a hand at another. Here he goes again, attacking down the grandstand touchline. Thomas, a dummy half for Meredith. He's got Mackie on his outside. But Devitt, only a lightweight second row forward, was the man that went in low. He's played the penalty as well. He's clutching his left arm at the moment as the rest of his teammates are caught well offside. And young Sean Devitt looks in a fair deal of pain down just inside the touchline here at Leichardt Oval. Joyce taking the ball up again. Quick play the ball for Thomas. It goes to Clark. Clark makes inroads into the St Augustine's defence. Good hands for Brennan. He's got Mackie on the outside. Mackie's got Staunton, the replacement player. Showed the ball up but couldn't unload the final pass. He's taken 10 metres short of the line. Thomas again, went the blind side. It's with Sheriff. Here's a possibility of a second try for Romain, but he's bundled into touch. Some good, strong cover defence in the form of the prop forward, Matt Corbett, who knocked the centre for Holy Cross Ryde straight over the touchline on this grandstand side. So young Devitt, Sean Devitt, in fact, is leaving the field, clutching at that left arm as the scrum goes down. It's picked up by Joyce. He elects to go the blind side again, but he's taken in the tackle by Keating. Sheriff, Delahunty. Ooh, Bestroff went over the top, impeded the progress, but didn't put him to ground. Now Meredith. Brennan running strongly with the ball. Unloaded the pass beautifully for McFarlane, only a metre short. The slide nearly took him there. They've got the numbers on that far side. Still short of the line. Thomas, the man that goes from dummy half. Will he go on his own? He looks as though he may have got the ball down. The referee is looking to his touch judge, awards the try. So Martin Thomas comes up with the 3rd try for Holy Cross as they bounce to a 16 points to 0 lead.
St Augustine's were defending fairly strongly. They were withstanding a lot of pressure, and then Thomas simply went into dummy half. He had a look both ways. He elected to go himself. He thought he could go underneath the defence, and that's exactly what he did. Just forced his way through the person who played the ball's legs.
He did very well to get it down too. So his first try of the 87 season. Martin Thomas, the young hooker for Holy Cross. And Bill, I would go as far as saying that's the ball game.
Yes, 10 minutes to go now, David, and I doubt very much that St Augustine's can get back into this one. They've tried very hard. Things haven't gone their way. As I suggested earlier, I feel that they needed a couple of trial games under their belt, and they would have been vastly improved.
So Cameron McFarlane, 2 from 5 so far. Even though he's had the 3 misses, he struck the ball particularly well. He's impressed me He takes a lot of time over his kicks, and he's a very, very clean striker of the ball. I'm sure that a few talent scouts will be looking at this young fellow's name as a potential first-grade goal kicker in the years to come. There's the kick. Off the boot nicely again. This time hits the post. So the scoreline here at Leichardt Oval, Holy Cross Ryde lead St Augustines of Brookvale to the tune of 16 points.
Monday, Jack Absalom presents a stunning television first.
If Australia has a dead heart, it must lie here.
Desert Walker, an amazing story of one man facing the ultimate challenge, crossing our nation on foot. Experience his hardships, meet many of your fascinating country men and women, and discover the strength of the family he leaves behind.
I just never think about it as a different lifestyle because to me it's just absolutely normal.
Join Jack Absalom, 7:30 Monday on 10.
Now there are lots more My Little Ponies to play with. Here's Twinkle Eyes. See how they sparkle? Really bright. Flutter Pony has wings as pretty as a rainbow. This pony is so lovely and soft. It's called So Soft. And my baby pony loves to go Betty Buys. Look, she's asleep already.
My little pony, I love my little pony.
My Little Pony from Tall Toys.
Roger, you probably know me best as Terry, the minder for Arthur.
But this little girl, Asta, knows him as a minder of a very different kind.
You see, Ruler and I sponsor little Asta through the Christian Children's Fund. There are literally millions of children like her in the third world who are suffering dreadfully from illness, malnutrition, illiteracy, and desperate poverty.
Do you know, for just 69 cents a day, you can send your love to one of these beautiful children, too. Phone this number any time of the day or night, and you can find out how to become a CCF sponsor. Sponsored children enjoy nutritious food every day, along with medical care, decent clothing, and the chance to go to school.
And when you become a sponsor, you'll be able to share in the life of your sponsored child, like we do.
Phone the Christian Children's Fund now and become minders like us. The cost of a local phone call will bring free information without obligation.
The Christian Children's Fund, giving help to children with your help.
Wayne, we've seen the first appearance on television of St Augustines. It's a relatively new school as far as Commonwealth Bank Cup football. They'll be better for the experience of this outing tonight, though.
They certainly will, David, and I agree with what you said earlier on and what Bill said earlier on, that they certainly lacked some performances together. They look a bit rusty, and I'd say, given a couple of trial games before this game, then they certainly would have improved their performance. There's some creditable performances out there. I can't look past young Joyce, the 5'8" for Holy Cross at this stage. He's certainly having a huge game, and he, along with Brennan and Mackie in the forwards, they're having big games, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, the players to watch out for on the Holy Cross side. On the St Augustine side, young Mestroff has certainly give his all, and he's to be credited.
Okay, so it's 16 points to 0. There's been a replacement in the St Augustine's lineup. We have in the Holy Cross. So we make the break for Brennan up towards the 22 remaining. Got the pass back inside, and the replacement player, Brett Wheelhouse, the man I was about to talk about, goes over with his first touch of the ball in season 1987 to score Holy Cross' 4th try of tonight. But what a dream start for young Brett Wheelhouse.
Just on the field and involved in a try, but this was an excellent wet weather try. The ball came from their own end of the field. A great break was made here by Brennan. The ball went on to Remain. Wheelhouse was in support on the inside. He realised that he didn't need any help. He had the legs to get there himself and dived over in the corner.
So here it came again. Right across the back line. Now watch for the break here from Brennan. Too much pace there for Corbett. Also for the replacement player, Anderson. And there's a lovely pass back infield for Remain. He scored the first try for Holy Cross tonight, and the 4th try scored by young Brett Wheelhouse. So he will remember his television debut in 1987, and it's given his side a 20 points to 0 lead. McFarlane on the side that doesn't really favour a right foot around the corner kicker. But let's see what he can do. The ball placed just a metre in from touch on the grandstand side. Gee, he struck that well again. It won't raise the flags. So the scoreline at Leichardt Oval, Holy Cross Ryde showing their dominance in this first round clash, leading St Augustines of Brookvale by 20 points to 0. Well, Wayne is at the start of the floodgates opening. We saw the young St Augustine side pretty tenacious in defence until about 10 minutes ago. We saw Thomas go over from dummy half, and then virtually from the kick-off, young Wheelhouse going across for the fourth try of the day.
Well, David, I think that St Augustine's have been relatively weak out wide for most of the night. It's just that the conditions have been such that Holy Cross hasn't had the opportunity to spread it wide. But on that occasion, they worked back to the blind side. There was a yawning gap there, but I think that St Augustine's are controlling the forwards well, and provided they can get up on the fringes of the rucks, then I don't anticipate the floodgates opening.
20-0. Thomas, Meredith, Joyce. There's the kick again, turning that defence around again. Coming across is Anthony Sheriff, who slipped back to... in fact, it's Chernez, who slipped back to fullback for St Augustine's. They're just a metre short of the halfway line. Again, the solid defence of Holy Cross has been evident right throughout this match so far, standing the test again. So St Augustine's creep over that halfway line. There's the kick from White. That ball will roll end on end. It's back for the fullback McFarlane. And he takes play just up to the 22. Meredith wrestled to the ground by his opposite number, White. 4 tries to 0 Holy Cross have scored here at Leichardt this afternoon. Romain, the man with the ball, opened the scoring in the first half. He's lost the ball. Picked up by Joyce. Picked it up very confidently too. Staunton unloaded the pass. Brennan wrapped up. Thomas. Clark. He's lost the ball, left it behind him. 12 points to 0 it was at half-time. 2 tries in the second half to Thomas and Wheelhouse have given Holy Cross that 20 points to 0 lead. Billy, for those people that may be watching the Commonwealth Bank Cup for the first time, a record number of teams have entered in 87.
Yes, Dave, we had some 195 teams this year. We've got 58 from Queensland and 157 from New South Wales. A tremendous amount of entries, and 137, I should say, from New South Wales, and it's something we're very pleased with. The Commonwealth Bank Cup has continued to grow over the last 13 years, and I would expect it'll grow even more next year.
Well, we'll be taking a telecast right around the New South Wales country area, with telecasts coming up at Bathurst and also at Tamworth and Tweed Heads. And if Brisbane can keep their hopes alive in the National Panasonic Cup, we will also be taking and showing our wares at Lang Park in Brisbane.
Exactly.
So the fullback McFarlane wrapped up just short of the 22. His side still leading by 20 points to 0. That's Meredith. Step back inside the tackle of Downman. Claimed by Jason Murphy. That's Brennan. That's a nice step from the centre from Holy Cross. Thomas, who's worked hard, gave it to Clark. Long striding prop forward. Midway between the 22 and halfway as the rain really starts to pelt down here at Leichardt Oval. Joyce turning that St Augustine's defence around again. But once again, the consistency. The referee in Parnaby has caught the Holy Cross side well offside again, and the penalty goes to St Augustine's. I think we should compliment the referee in Parnaby. He's let the game flow pretty well tonight, and the word we used a moment ago, he's been very consistent.
Yes, well, I don't mind a referee penalising that sort of thing, where the players deliberately get offside and go down in front of the kicker. It gives players a chance to bring the ball back and to show what they can do, provided he does it all the time, and he has done that.
Lestrop taking play, centre of the field, midway between the half and 22 and try line. Wayne Pearce, of course, joining us for the 87 season as our sideline commentator. Pearcey, how have you enjoyed round 1 of the Commonwealth Bank Cup?
As I said earlier, David, it's rather humid to say the least, but I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been a great game. A little lopsided at the finish, but rather consistent. Holy Cross scored 2 tries in the first half, 2 tries in the second half. They thoroughly deserved to win, but certainly St Augustine's were not disgraced, and I would assume that they'll continue to go well in their local competition throughout the year.
That's a good stepping run from McFarlane. This could be a 70-metre try, but that's good defence coming up. Got the pass away to Joyce, switched it back beautifully to Brennan. Brennan runs crabwise, looking for support. He's got plenty on the outside. That's Delahunty. Got the pass away. This could be another try. Joyce for the corner, but the defence stood the test. Great defence in cover. They were shot to pieces, St Augustine's, but it's not all over. Will they come up with them? Well, Bill, you've got to compliment them, down 20 points to nil, and didn't they come back well then?
They sure did. It looked like they were no chance in the world of stopping that try, but all 13 players made an effort to get back into position. They just kept tackling, and they were able to stop what looked an absolute certainty for Holy Cross.
Well, that's dedication. That's something they look back with in pride, because a lot of sides trailing 20 points to nil could have easily conceded yet another try here at Leichardt Oval tonight. But that gives them hope for the future. There's the kick, driving play outside the 22. Taken nicely by Romain. Runs towards the grandstand touchline. And again, the dedicated, determined defence. Here's Staunton. He's left it behind him and regathers, but the referee will rule the knock on. So despite the very wet beginnings to the 1987 season, Holy Cross Ryde, as we mentioned, 4 times finalists between 79 and 82, and champions, in fact, in 1981. They boasted 2 Australian players on the recent Kangaroo Tour in Benny Elias and Paul Sirinen. They've started brightly in their campaign for 1987. They've scored 4 excellent tries, Bill.
Yes, particularly the 2 tries I thought in the second half. One they worked for the length of the field and scored, and the other one they did the same thing, were tackled just short of the line, put pressure on, and then were able to force their way over from dummy half.
Here's McFarlane, takes play to the halfway line, and that in fact is the last tackle of the opening match of the 1987 Commonwealth Bank Cup from Leichardt Oval. The full-time scoreline, Holy Cross Ryde have defeated St Augustine's Brookvale by 20 points to nil, with tries to Romaini, Joyce, Thomas and Wheelhouse. McFarlane has kicked 2 goals. The half-time scoreline was 12 points to nil, Holy Cross scoring 2 tries in the second half to run out winners by 20 points to nil. We'll take a short break here on Network 10. We'll be back with Bill Anderson right after the break.